New World was an absolute lackluster disappointment from day one, and let's be completely real. Everyone saw the writing on the wall that that game has no future, and now Amazon is shutting it down. They spent literally hundreds of millions making it, and what did they get? A meme. A sad meme of, well, people just making fun of it as we should, because it was that bad. Amazon Games, well, now defunct Amazon Games because they admitted defeat because they tried to challenge Steam. No one even knew, guys, that you were trying to challenge Steam. Like you're like a credit card payment processor. No one even knew that you are real, okay? You needed to remind people that you exist. That's how poor and bad you were. And you're surprised that, oh, our game shut down. We tried our best. Your best was pitiful.
In this industry, there is a graveyard of dead MMOs, long gone, forgotten games, where studios have spent millions upon millions of dollars only to be left in the dust.
Assassin's Creed Shadows, Ghost of Yotei, Dragon Age, The Veilguard, Avowed, The Outer Worlds 2. So many examples.
I'm looking at you, Wildstar. Today we're talking about a game that launched with massive hype, insane player numbers, and the full weight of one of, if not the largest company ever behind it. And yet here we are, a game that reportedly cost around $200 million, maybe more depending on who you ask. I fully believe that it was almost double that cost, is now officially on a shutdown path. There's no relaunch, there's no redemption arc, there's no Realm Reborn moment, there's nothing. Just a slow bleed followed by the servers going dark. And
man, you forget sometimes that New World legitimately launched almost 1 million concurrent players. You do forget that. And then how quickly it died. No, literally, it died in less than 2 months.
Going dark. And for MMO players, I think this one hurts more than most.
Oh, mining's so good. Too bad the rest of the game was trash.
New World wasn't just another MMO. This was Amazon stepping into the genre saying, we have the money, we have the tech, the servers, and the long-term vision to do this right. They weren't.
Well, the long-term vision was clearly wrong, and maybe they should have tried to get, I don't know, some talent, maybe? But instead they hired Pirate Software. By the way, yes, Pirate Software should have actually worked on this game. Our boy who spent 7 years working at Blizzard not only destroyed World of Warcraft, but also Amazon Games. He truly is a visionary.
Some indie studio. This wasn't Chronicles of Illyria level crowdfunding hype. There was actually, there was merit. There was talent, and there was the tech behind it that would have made this successful. They're Amazon, for Christ's sake. They own AWS. They owned Lumberyard. They had infinite runway compared to most MMO developers. And when New World launched in
the Lumberyard engine was the one that was made that New World was made upon. And, well, the engine actually was problematic because it couldn't do a lot of things that they wanted to do. So the Lumberyard engine was a problem. They had to train people to work with it because people didn't know how to use it. It was forced upon people, and it was forced upon different studios. The Lumberyard engine problem with New World is probably a whole different video on its own, how many problems it caused. It was one of the reasons why the game was actually as bad as it was at launch with all of the bugs and whatnot. It was because Amazon just forced their engine that was not good at doing things that it needed to do in MMORPGs to succeed. It was a joke.
2021, the numbers were insane. Nearly 1 million concurrent players on Steam. For MMO fans, for me, watching just a plethora of games come out and fail time and time again, I was excited at the prospect of a Western studio that
Yeah, excited, and then you found out that there were literally skeletons, humans, corrupted humans, and I guess some wildlife. Those were the four enemy types. No, seriously, that's it. Those were the four enemy types, and there were like roughly 3 locations in the game, and I'm not kidding, okay? There were towns that got rotated. There were enemy forts that got rotated, and they were all copy pasted. It was insane, okay? Some places just got rotated. The fact that New World honestly lasted this much and Amazon tried to do like, I don't know, 5 different redemption stories on this garbage is insane by its own.
isn't fucking Blizzard making an MMO, jumping into the space, and actually being successful. We watch this genre slowly decay into monetization hell, theme park burnout, and maintenance mode
Oh, Lost Ark is such a good game, though.
games where I think New World felt different. It felt new. It felt refreshing. You had action combat, territory control.
Lost Ark is the game that also Amazon, by the way, published, but they published it just in the West. Lost Ark is the game every Dark Soul player constantly yaps about wanting to play because it's hard, but when Lost Ark came out and people had to actually, play the fucking hard Dark Souls game, they quit because it was too hard, okay? It was beautiful, okay? Like, Lost Ark hard barriered people in the literal first boss encounter, which had barely 3 mechanics, but I guess having a encounter with 3 mechanics is harder than any World of Warcraft boss ever made, and most Dark Souls bosses, because the raid bosses had up to 20 to 30 and 40 raid mechanics each, okay? So it's not even close.
Literal guild wars, a grounded fantasy setting in a living world driven by player profit. The game wasn't perfect by any stretch, but it had promise, and that's why I think this story stings more than most. Amazon has never officially published New World's budget, but industry reporting, former employees, and analysts all land in roughly the same range. $200 million at minimum, potentially far more.
Yep, for 2022, that makes sense. I would personally say it's most likely 300 million-ish, but not close to 400 million. That is very close to the average, because it's a AAA thing, and AAAs are always the same.
When you factor in nearly a decade of development, engine creation and rewrites, multiple design pivots, massive server infrastructure, the live service operations that happened post-launch, and then the marketing and the platform partnerships. This was, in my opinion, Amazon's big step into the gaming industry as a whole, and this was their first big pillar game. That money went into development and went into, the systems that were constantly being reworked, abandoned, or fundamentally misunderstood. The original version of New World was a full PvP survival MMO that got ripped out late in development, then became a PvE-friendly MMO. Then it tried to do some amalgamation and tried to serve both audiences. And instead of committing to a clear identity, I felt like New World just became a game that constantly apologized for what it was and never really lived up to its full potential of what it needed to be. I think we got to be very clear. New World didn't die because MMOs are dead. On the contrary, I think there's so many people.
I wondered what the actual lore story of New World is. I actually have no idea.
They're clamoring for a solid Western designed MMORPG that harkens back to the days of old Blizzard when we first got World of Warcraft. There hasn't really been a lot of games since then. Obviously, you have the big 3, the ESO, the Final Fantasy. You have games like old school RuneScape. But I know there's a lot of people out there that want the next World of Warcraft. And a lot of people jumped onto New World as that potential game being backed by a studio that has the resources to deliver that kind of game for modern audiences.
Listen, nothing's gonna deliver this kind of gameplay ever again, okay?
What I think plagued New World from day one was their identity crisis. PvP players felt alienated going into the
Dude, PvP is such a hilarious thing in New World. Okay, I played New World. I didn't do any PvP, but I saw people do PvP. Start running, congratulations. No one's catching you. It was so stupid. You could become immortal by crouching. Oh man, the game had so many bugs. The PvP was so ass.
the game. The PvE players, in my opinion, were never fully supported. They had things like the bounty board, and you were constantly doing the same quests over and over and over, killing the same enemies over and over and over. It was repetitive to a fault. And B, there was a lot of tech debt plaguing the game. You had duping exploits, you had economy resets, you had server merging that shattered communities. Every time I thought the game was trying to stabilize itself, something just fundamentally broke again. And C, which in my opinion is the death knell to any MMO, is the shallow end game. Once the leveling honeymoon phase ended, players realized the end game.
You know what was the most questionable thing about New World, honestly? It's the fact that you had the ability to block by pressing the other mouse button, you know, this hand, the right hand, I guess. And that could block anything. There were literally situations where a giant boss is slamming his hand on you, and you're like, blocked! It was so dumb. It was just the stupidest thing ever. So many things about New World literally did not make sense. And the endgame itself, let me rant a little bit about the endgame. I have ranted so many times about this, and I'll do it again gladly, okay? Don't have to ask, buddy. I got you. Daddy's got you. Okay, so the New World endgame didn't exist. It didn't exist in the way that no one knew what the fuck to do. There were some people who knew, but for the average person, you hit level 60, and then you have absolutely no clue what to do. You need to discover the dungeons that you later on don't need to be even near to actually enter and find a team, but you need to discover them for some reason first. You have no idea if you have discovered all dungeons because the resources online did not tell you if you, all of the dungeons for the endgame. And in the endgame, you had so many stuff that wasn't explained what the fuck you're supposed to do. You had some kind of grindable currency that you could get, and there's no explanation how to get it, what to use it on. Well, you use it to upgrade items, I guess, but it's like, how, what, where? Nothing was explained. I remember trying to do endgame New World content at level 60, and I YouTubed endgame guide New World or something like that, and there were like 10 videos. And all of those videos were like 30-40 minutes long, and I click on the first one. It has nothing. It has nothing associated to what a player needs to do to progress in the endgame. It just was random yapping about some garbage. Not even my tier of yapping verse. Then the second video, nothing again. The third video, nothing again. The fourth video was 40 minutes long or something like that. I don't remember. But in any case, the fourth video, 30 minutes in, which is literally called a guide for the end game or something like that. 30 minutes in of the 40-minute video actually then explained what you're supposed to do when you hit level 60 and what are the things that you're supposed to do, farm, and blah, blah, blah. A guide video, 40 minutes long, only 30 minutes in actually starts explaining you what you're supposed to do. The first 30 minutes were just unconsensual yapping about nothing. It was horrible. Like, even if you wanted to play New World in the end game, it was a struggle because you had no idea what's happening or why it's happening.
Loop was thin, even more repetitive than the leveling process. and unrewarding. Territory wars became gatekept by the same dominant guilds. Crafting really just kind of lost its meaning about halfway through the game, and
Based.
progression just kind of stalled. And then, in my opinion, after those three, I would say the fourth point, or D, would be the slow reactive development. Amazon, they constantly reacted to outrage. Fixes would come way too late, reworks that took way too long, and by the time systems improved, the player base already left. I think the part that most people need to understand here is Amazon had the money and the resources.
Is this even a real location? By the way, this is like the main baddie. I have no idea who she is. I never finished the story quest. The last thing I was like, nah, I'm not doing this shit. And is this a real location? Because there are things that are kind of similar to this, but I'm not sure if that's a real location or not.
Amazon had the money and the resources to fix it, but they just didn't have the conviction to. MMO players are some of the most loyal players in the industry. We stick through rough launches, we forgive broken expansions, we wait years for redemption arcs. Final Fantasy proved that, Elder Scrolls Online proved that. They've all had rough patches. Hell, even Guild Wars had rough patches, and players still stuck by that game as well. What MMO players ask
Guild Wars is actually an ironically good game, though.
for isn't perfection. We ask for commitment. And New World
Well,
never...
actually, we just ask for something that vaguely resembles this, okay? That's what we ask, that's what we want. It's very simple. It's just bunny girls. There you go. Add it to your game, congratulations. Whatever this is, get rid of it, okay? Add a second bunny girl option, okay? It's that simple.
had that commitment. Instead of doubling down on it and saying, like, we believe in this world, we're going to make things right, we're going to fix it, you could already see Amazon pulling resources away from New World. It was like you could see in real time the corporate mindset infest that development. You could see it. You had fewer updates, smaller ambitions, more silence, until eventually I think most people got the message. Amazon doesn't give a shit about you. They don't give a shit about me. They give a shit about money. On October 28th, 2025, the writing was on the wall, and
The company that makes people piss in bottles, otherwise they're gonna get fired for being low productivity. Are you telling me that company cares about money? Wow. 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 I did not expect that. I was clueless. Holy.
all knew it was coming. We got an update to New World. As New World...
This wasn't an update. New World Ethereum was stupid, completely nonsensical attempt to rebrand New World as a new game. This was a literal re-release of the game, or at least intended.
As New World recognizes its 4th anniversary since launching on PC, we reflect on an incredible journey shaped by our dedicated player community. The recently launched Season 10 and Night Haven update will serve as the final content release for New World on PC and consoles. It is only after much consideration that we've reached this decision. And in this post on October 28th, they said in the coming months, we will provide more details on what to expect and other essential information. And a post on January 15th of this year, confusingly titled The Future of New World, What to Expect? Nothing. There is no future of New World.
Based.
New World is completely shutting down on January 31st,
I wonder if New World's gonna come back, though.
2027. As of January 15th, the title will be delisted and no longer available for purchase. Players can still play New World Eternum on their platform until January 31st, 2027. So you have just over a year to enjoy what little remnants of a solid MMO launch.
The idea that I'm gonna enjoy New World is, I'm not gonna lie, pretty bold.
Is still there in New World. But just so everybody is aware, until...
And by the way, the combat of New World, oh my god, it's so ass. So first of all, look at this. Actually, why can't I see his abilities?
MMO launch.
The hell? Interesting, I don't see his abilities. But New World works like this. You should have abilities here, and there should be 3 abilities. There's 3 abilities for one weapon, and then you can swap, and there's another weapon. All of these abilities take like less than a second to cast each, and they probably have roughly a 20-ish second cooldown. So, 20-second cooldown for all abilities with any weapon, by the way, and 1 second to cast each. That means that you have roughly 14-second downtime of literally doing nothing in this game. This was one of the reasons why the game failed, okay? Because the combat's just ass. It's boring, it's dull, it's super simple, and it just makes you want to scream. But that's not even the worst part. You know what's the worst part with this game? The fact that some weapons just felt ass. For example, the rapier. The rapier was one of the strongest weapons in the game. And it felt miserable to use, okay? It felt miserable, okay? It was one of the worst feelings ever using a rapier, sadly. But the combat itself, oh my god, the combat itself was so dull. And you know why it was dull? It was actually quite good at some points. If you were heavy attacking an enemy and using one ability to finish them off and killing them instant, felt good, okay? Then the combat felt good. But the moment you used your cooldowns or the enemy was not dead, you instantaneously just understood how slow, painful, repetitive the combat was. It was horrible. It was complete ass. And the funny part is, honestly, the way that you fixed the combat was so easy. You just needed to make auto-attacking like 20% faster by default on everything. Just 20% more attack speed on everything, okay? So easy, so simple. 20% more attack speed so you don't feel slow when you're like, using a spear, and yeah, it's ass. It was ass. But yeah, that's what you just needed to do. You needed to do that and maybe decrease the cooldowns of every ability like by 3 seconds, and combat suddenly would be better. It would take so little for the combat, at least, to not be completely painful. But they never did it. They never changed the base combat. They never added anything to actually change how it functions, feels, or works, or whatever. So you were stuck with combat that the average person did not enjoy. Like, how are you gonna how can a game succeed if your combat, your main thing that you do in the game, it just feels horrible?
A solid MMO launch is still there in New World. But just so everybody is aware, until July 20th of this year, you can still purchase in-game currency.
Nice.
Did you think they would turn that tap off? No. Will you get refunded for any of the in-game currency that you purchased up until now? No,
of course not.
No. So you can no longer purchase the game. You can install it if you own it. As an avid MMO fan and somebody who has watched this genre pretty much die out because of incompetence from developers time and time again, everybody looked at Amazon as, I don't want to say the savior, but they looked at Amazon as the differential. The company that could come in and actually do something worth.
Bro, I don't remember why we even thought this, but when Amazon entered the scene, it was like, oh, Amazon could do great things. I don't even know why we all thought like that. I can't even explain.
While in this space, because they had the resources, they had the manpower, they had the money, they had the tech, they had a slam dunk. But like I said earlier in this video, what they lacked was the commitment to actually do things right, put things on the right path, and make meaningful changes. This is as typical Silicon Valley as you can get. Drop something with so much promise and potential, get people on board, and then once things go wrong, instead of trying to pivot and make things better for the consumer, you tuck tail and you leave. And while all of this is also going on, not only are the players affected here, Amazon also announced layoffs of approximately 14,000 jobs, heavily impacting its gaming division and closing studios responsible for New World and the Lord of the Rings MMO. Amazon is also
Oh yeah, right. The Lord of the Rings MMO, that would have been probably completely horrible also.
most first-party AAA game development and shifting focus to casual games and AI-driven experiences to align with its what they call technological strengths. Go fuck yourself. For some odd reason,
Well, to be absolutely fair, switching to AI than making New World probably is, like, not a bad choice in my opinion, considering no one wants New World.
I was excited at the prospect of a Lord of the Rings.
But if you ask me what I want less, AI or New World, I mean probably New World. I probably want less New World.
MMO, I love Lord of the Rings. I should have just expected that it was going to be trash. Now we'll never know. But to lay off 14,000 people and shift and pivot towards AI-driven technological experiences, I know it's going to be tough to avoid.
The AI slop pipe always needs a throat.
Amazon services in the future, but this is one of the worst fucking moves that I have seen in the gaming space in all of my years on this platform. And now to kill yet another game after spending hundreds of millions of dollars while also keeping the microtransactions enabled for the next 6 months is fucking scummy. And for me, nice. I hope all of the Amazon games that do come out in the future fail miserably. I know it will never happen, but in my opinion, there is no room in this industry for people like Amazon to come in and do what they did. We shouldn't accept it. But again, I also know that we're such a small corner of the internet. The masses, the casuals, the people that don't watch these kind of videos are just going to consume the games. They're going to buy them. They're going to do it all anyway. Hell, I
don't know. I don't know if that's true. I think gamers, most of us, are actually, like, watching a YouTube video about something. None of us really want to spend money on just, nothing and lose it all for no reason. I don't know. Maybe it's not true, but whatever. Big Fry TV, 10 out of 10. Bye!